You're crouched by a low fire at dusk, and the air has gone wrong. First it's a whine near your ear, then 2, then 100, a living static crawling across every inch of exposed skin. The smoke stings your eyes, but you lean into it anyway, because the smoke is the only thing keeping the bites down to a tolerable itch instead of 100 small punctures. Somewhere behind you a child is crying, slapping at their own arms. The mosquitoes don't care that you're the smartest species on the planet. Tonight, you're just warm blood in the dark, and the swarm has found you. So how did they survive it? Bug spray made of dirt and desperation. That's the assumption most people carry. Early humans just endured it, scratched, and hoped for morning. Except the archaeological record says something far more deliberate was happening. Ancient humans weren't passively suffering through insect swarms. In at least one Stone Age site, they were engineering their sleeping space, chemically, on purpose. And the method they used still shows up in your bug spray today. Here's what nobody tells you. Roughly 77,000 years ago, in a cave in what's now South Africa, someone chose a specific plant, not the nearest plant, not the softest plant, but one with insect-killing chemical properties, and built their bed out of it. That's not survival by luck. That's applied pharmacology, done by people we still call primitive. And the evidence for this is genuinely staggering. The site is Sibudu Cave, a rock shelter on a cliff above the Tongati River in KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa. In 2011, archaeologist Lyn Wadley and her team, publishing in Science, uncovered compacted layers of fossilized plant bedding dating back roughly 77,000 years, the oldest known bedding in the archaeological record. Underneath the grass and sedge that formed the sleeping surface, they found something the team didn't expect: crushed leaves from Cryptocarya woodii, a laurel family tree whose leaves contain natural insecticidal and larvicidal compounds. Not decorative, not incidental. The leaves were laid down as the bottom layer of the bed, a chemical barrier between the sleeper and the insects living in the reeds below. This wasn't a one-time discovery either. Wadley's team found the same bedding technique repeated across multiple layers of the cave spanning thousands of years, meaning this wasn't a lucky accident by one clever individual. It was a maintained cultural practice, passed down and repeated. Not just grass for comfort, but grass chosen and layered specifically to kill the bugs that would otherwise have made sleep unbearable and, more dangerously, made disease transmission relentless. So if humans were already engineering pest control at Sibudu 77,000 years ago, the next question is obvious. What did everyone else believe was happening at ancient campsites instead? The conventional story most documentaries repeat is simple. Fire was the great insect deterrent. Full stop. Light a flame, add some green wood for smoke, and the bugs stay away. Case closed. Move on to the next survival skill. Except that story doesn't quite work once you look at where and when these sites are located. Many ancient camps, Sibudu included, needed protection that lasted through the entire night, in enclosed sleeping spaces where a smoky fire would have been just as miserable for the humans as for the mosquitoes. You can't smoke yourself out of your own bed. That gap is exactly what led Wadley to propose what's now referred to informally as the insect ecology hypothesis of early bedding construction. The idea that the invention of the bed itself as a technology was driven as much by pest defense as by comfort. Fire kept insects at bay around the camp. The bedding kept them out of the one place humans were most vulnerable, asleep, motionless, for 8 hours at a time. It's a strangely modern problem with a strangely modern solution. You still can't smoke bomb your own bedroom every night either, so eventually you buy a mattress cover instead. Once you accept that early humans were solving this with plant chemistry instead of just brute force smoke, the entire timeline of human ingenuity has to shift earlier. This wasn't reactive suffering. This was preventative medicine, built into the architecture of sleep itself, and it forces us to ask what else we've been calling instinct that was actually knowledge. Here's where it gets genuinely strange. Cryptocarya woodii belongs to a plant family known for producing secondary metabolites, chemical compounds plants evolve specifically to poison the insects that try to eat them. Wadley's team, alongside entomologists who analyzed the crushed leaf residue, identified compounds consistent with insecticidal and even mildly narcotic properties, meaning the leaves may have done double duty, killing bugs and helping people sleep. Think about what you reach for tonight if mosquitoes get into your room. A spray can with a chemical name you can't pronounce, engineered in a lab to disrupt an insect's nervous system. The person at Sibudu was doing the same job with a leaf, using trial-and-error botanical knowledge passed down over thousands of years instead of a chemistry degree. And this matters more than it sounds like it should. Because for most of human history, insects weren't just an itch. They were the single deadliest predator our species faced. Malaria alone is estimated by researchers, including work compiled by the World Health Organization's historical malaria program, to have killed more humans across our history than every war combined. Let that sink in. The tiny whine near your ear at dusk was, for 77,000 years, a bigger threat to your survival than a lion, and this wasn't a one-off South African trick. It's closer to a human universal. In East Africa, Maasai communities have long burned specific woods and dung inside cattle enclosures at dusk, producing a dense smoke that drives mosquitoes and tsetse flies away from both people and livestock. In the Amazon, several indigenous groups, including the Yanomami, apply oil pressed from the anato plant to their skin, a compound that doubles as sun protection and insect deterrent. Even outside our species, African elephants coat themselves in mud and dust for the same core reason, a physical and chemical barrier against biting insects that would otherwise drain their strength. Different continents, different materials, same unspoken engineering problem, and the same instinct to fight back with chemistry instead of just tolerance. But sit with the darker side of this for a second. The reason ancient humans were engineering pest defense this seriously wasn't comfort. It was because insects were, quite literally, killing them slowly, generation after generation, through disease they didn't yet have a name for. And the trade-offs run deeper than most people realize. The sickle cell trait, still carried today by millions of people with ancestry from malaria-heavy regions, exists because it offered partial protection against a disease so relentless that a genetic mutation causing lifelong illness was still, on balance, worth carrying. That's not a footnote. That's evolution negotiating with an insect and losing enough that it had to compromise the human genome itself. We like to imagine our ancestors' biggest enemies were saber-toothed cats and rival tribes. The uncomfortable truth is that something small enough to land on your arm without you noticing may have shaped human history. And human DNA, more than anything with teeth ever did. The honest answer is we don't fully know exactly how widespread this specific bedding technique became, or how many other plant recipes like it existed and simply never fossilized. We probably never will. But here's the part that connects backward across 77,000 years without any exaggeration at all. The next time you spray a can of insect repellent before you sleep, or light a citronella candle on your porch, or just slap at your arm out of pure reflex, you're not doing anything new. You're running a 77,000-year-old program, updated with better packaging. Somewhere along the way, we traded crushed laurel leaves for aerosol cans. But the war against the smallest predator we've ever faced never actually ended. It just moved to the pharmacy aisle.